Hey everybody, it's Ryan and Grant. Grant, teach you something. What's going on, man?
What's up, y'all?
It's been a month, a couple days.
It's been, a couple minutes. It's good to be back on the new set, checking out the celebratory set of new Propelio Academy-ness. But we're looking forward to the season, man. The season's going to be fun. This is going to be a lot of fun because one of the things that Ryan brought up to me is a really good idea that I had to sleep on for a second. He was like, man, you know, these Grant Teach Me Somethings are great, but you kind of have to have like a baseline knowledge of something that's going on to understand, to be able to follow. And I got some feedback from, one of my private money lenders, same kind of thing, where she's like, man, it's awesome. It's just like, so here's what we're going to do this season. This season, what we're going to do is we're going to try and take this a little bit more step by step for you. We're going to do a couple of multi-part series. Series. We're going to do a few multi-part series through this time to try and help to like kind of build out, the knowledge, because the structure of it. You got to have that baseline to walk on.
Real quick though, cleaning house, can you hear us? If we seem disheveled the first couple of these episodes between Monday, Tuesday, and now, it's because we haven't done the live stream in a minute, and it's a muscle memory thing. So if you can hear us, please say we can hear you, and we'll get back. We'll get to the meat of everything.
Yeah.
But anyway, so foundations. What does that even mean?
So by foundations, what I want to talk about is how Facebook works or doesn't work.
It works.
By foundations, what I mean is, look, we're going to be throwing a lot of acronyms out. We're going to be throwing a lot of just verbiage around, and just kind of assuming that there's this baseline knowledge of people have, right? Which a lot of folks do. But a lot of folks don't. A lot of folks just, I mean, if you're getting into it, there's no reason you should know what any of this stuff means. Like, don't feel bad, right?
Right.
So today, because it has an N in it now, today I wanted to go over some of those kinds of things. What are these abbreviations that we might be using? What are some bits of knowledge that we might just kind of have to understand and accept to build upon, not just with our owner financing, but just with our general real estate investing, right? Like, there's some baseline knowledge that you've got to have for that. So that's basically what I'm talking about when I say foundations.
Yeah, and it's, I think in this industry, we always take it for granted what we know or what we don't know. Perfect example was, not Grant, Daniel and I were walking a house yesterday that we own, which is probably bad that we're walking it after we own it. Whatever. But, you know, and for a minute there, I was, and Travion's got his camera walking around, and we're actually going to do a case study stuff on that house on Mondays.
Good.
But I was walking around, and I was taking these 6-inch steps, and I was thinking to myself, man, if Travion's videoing this, and if somebody just walks in, they'll probably think I'm a crazy man. and what I was doing was just, obviously, you're trying to check the foundation with your feet. Clearly, it's not a substitute for engineer's report or foundations, but if you've done it long enough and you do it enough, you get the idea of like, okay, you train your feet in a way that, okay, this foundation is probably jacked. I need to get a real foundation company in here. But and the whole reason I bring this up is people would probably think you're crazy just walking around doing the shuffle, the 5-inch shuffle. And I mean, it's obvious to me, it's probably obvious to you, it's probably not obvious to 90% of the investors out there, but for that 10%, you know, you're probably like, what the hell are they doing? So anyway.
Right, and I just want to give you the award for like most applicable and obscure analogy there. That was very applicable of you. We have to build our foundations. We have to know how to walk so that
I promise my intention was not to have like a pun type thing.
It should have been call you Eminem over here with that wordplay. But I mean, it's true. You've got to understand. You've got to have a proper foundation underneath you so that you can take your big adult steps, right?
Oh my God.
Okay, so let's hop into some of the things that we're talking about.
Cut print. Let's end it now.
That's it. All right. Nice seeing you guys.
Season 2 is over. NBC called. They want their money back. Anyway, go ahead, sorry.
Okay, so I'm just going to list out to start with some abbreviations, and one of the things that I want is as we go through this, if you guys have questions, this is something that I want to make more prevalent in our Season 2 as well, is if you guys have questions, please hop over and comment them. Please ask what those questions are. If you've got something that you've seen that you're unfamiliar with, let us know what that is, and we'll answer it now. Now's a perfect time. I really want this to be a very good back and forth for us.
Yeah, so it's all about the back and forth, and you know, Facebook Live, YouTube Live, these Grant Teach Me Somethings, it started out as, well, shit, you're here, might as well just start doing stuff. But it's turned into, okay, let's actually give you some actionable content. So that's what this is all about. And we've got some cool new toys that hopefully work.
Ooh, fancy. We getting fancy in here.
Maybe not.
Maybe not.
There we go.
Oh, shoot.
So.
Look what's about to happen.
Oh, no. Oh, no.
Look what's happening. Oh, it's black. Oh, wait. Do I have to?
Ty Lopez got a whiteboard. We got a.
Oh, here we go. Here we go.
We got that board. Boom.
We got the whiteboard.
What up, y'all?
Digitally for your screen
Propelio.
and behind us.
Yeah.
All right, so here's what we want to do. First one. This is the first easy one you're going to see all the time is ARV, which stands for what?
Arranged Retail Vengeance.
Yeah, that's absolutely
After repair
right.
value from the back of the room, studio to audience. Thank you, sir.
Grant Teach Me Something was filmed in front of a live studio audience.
ARV equals
ARV
after
equals after repair value. So what we're talking about in this is when we say after repair value, we're saying, okay, so this house right now isn't worth very much because it's all tore up, right? But what would it be worth once we put the money into it that it needs in order to get top price?
And the biggest mistake I see a lot of newer investors, or maybe not investor types, but like agents that don't really mess with investors much, they get confused with the ARV versus, hey, what it sell for? And you know, and it's just like, whoa. The ARV is what it would be. It's not its current comp.
Right.
So like, because in the investor world, when we pull comps, we're pulling comps for the ARV number because that's what we are prospectively trying to go after.
Right.
Versus an agent and versus maybe a homeowner or whatever, they're looking at the what as number.
Is. Yeah,
so,
there's a difference between like market value and ARV, right? And that's kind of what we're talking about.
Market
right
value,
here.
ARV. Yeah.
Market value for a house, maybe $130,000 because in its current state, that's what an investor would pay for it. But its ARV might be like $250,000, and what that means is, hey, right now it's worth $130,000, but you got to put in $50,000, and if you put in $50,000, then it's going to be worth $250,000, right? That would be what an ARV is referring to. So everything that we do is based off of what is the ARV. And let's just real quickly define that ARV does not mean what is the most expensive neighborhood or house in the neighborhood. ARV means what would this house with this square footage sell for on the market. Which brings us to another lingo that you're going to hear, and this one's fairly simple, but it's going to be the price per square foot. Okay? Price per square foot is going to be another one that you're hearing thrown around a lot. And really, that's when it goes into finding the value of a house and all that kind of stuff. That's really the basis of what we're using is we're saying, what do houses sell for in this neighborhood, okay? If houses generally sell for $100,000 and they are a 2,000 square foot house, that means that there's some kind of price per square foot to that. I'm not good at math. What's 1,000 divided by or 100,000 divided by 2,000?
Maybe 2%.
2%. Okay, so that would mean that this house has a $50 per square foot price.
Math, y'all.
For every,
Math.
I have given up on trying to math my way into things in my head because I just know that I have a calculator right here. Remember we were always in school, they were like, you're never going to have a calculator with you.
I saw a meme of that the other day.
Yeah,
it's like,
true.
haha, screw you.
My math is gone. Because like I'll run something in my head and I'll be super confident about it. I'm like, oh dude, I'm getting it at 75% of the ARV, and then I'm like, oh, I messed up.
Quick tangent, real quick. Because we opened up the academy on Monday, Propelio Academy, and already have had a lot of good feedback on specifically on yours, because yours is kind of like the flagship course
awesome.
at the moment. But like your mini class on the 10B2 calculator.
Oh yeah,
I've already gotten a lot of good feedback.
Have you? Good. Yeah, check it out, Propelio Academy. Maybe we can link to the. Can we link to the
I can drop that in there.
Class? For the 10B2 calculator. That is the lifeblood of this business. You should learn how to use that calculator. Yeah. Anyway, so when we're looking at a price per square foot, what we're saying is, hey, if this house sells for $100,000 and it's 2,000 square feet, that means for every square foot in this house, somebody's paying $50 for it. Okay? That is the price per square foot. So what you'll do when you're running your comps, we'll explain what comps are. Well, I mean, I don't think I have to write down. Comps are just, it's comparable. You're running you're looking at the neighborhood, seeing what this house should be able to sell for if it was all fixed up. So when you're running your comps, you're going to see, hey, all the houses that get the most in this neighborhood have hardwoods and granites and and whatever modern bathrooms. So you're going to have to make your house look like that. Well, you're going to take the three houses that are closest to the house that you have, right? You're going to average their price per square foot, and then you're going to multiply that price per square foot by however many square feet your house has, and that's how you arrive at a in value, right? So there's a little bit of math involved in that. The nice thing is not so subtle plug. Propelio will calculate that for you. If you're running your comps on Propelio and you check off which ones you do want to use, it's going to tell you, hey, your price per square foot is $110, and that means that your value is $150,000.
And because we are plugging Propelio right now, you can also, there are options to go price per square foot, go through the median price, go through the average or whatever price.
Yeah, you can choose how you want to
value. So you still have the ability to manipulate it. One thing I do want to get into real quick about, since we're talking about price per square foot, and this is what I love about real estate, is real estate investing to me is like a giant jigsaw puzzle, because you have all these structures, you have all these strategies, and you have all these nuances within it. So here we are talking about three houses that are closely to the square footage of it, and that's how you arrive at your price. But what if you have those outliers? What if you have something that in a neighborhood of that 2,000 square foot, but your house is 2,700 square feet? So a newer investor is going to be like, hell yeah, I just got the jackpot, baby.
Right.
I just got 700 times 50 more dollars per square foot on my house.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, that's not how it works.
Right.
And I don't know what the formula is. It's some people use that 50% rule or whatever, but you have to manipulate. It's all about manipulating the price to get whatever you can get. At the end of the day, market value of your house is whatever you can sell it for.
Yeah, what somebody will pay for it defines the value.
There's basically an unwritten rule, which is the square footage that you have above the average is always valued less than the value of a square footage below. So if I've got a 1,500 square foot house and a 2,500 square foot house, but the median is that 2,000 square foot house, the prices, you're going to get more for the 1,500. You know what I'm trying to go. Where am I trying to? How am I supposed to say that?
So basically, here's the thing: is like if you look at the average square footage of your neighborhood comps, and the average is 2,000, but you're looking at a house that's only 1,500 square feet, most likely you're going to get a little bit more dollar per square foot.
That's what I'm going
on that 1,500 square foot home, because people are kind of used to spending. Yeah, people are kind of used to spending this range and that. So you may get a couple of bucks more on this one. However, if the average is 2,000 square feet and your house is 2,500, well, you get the full dollar per square foot on that first 2,000. But then on that last 500. You got to only get a third of the dollar per square foot. So if the dollar per square foot is $90 per square foot, you're going to get $90 per square foot for that first 2,000, and then you're going to get $30 per square foot for that last 500, and that's basically where your ARV is going to come from.
Yeah, and let's go down this rabbit hole a little bit more. Same thing with a pool. If every house in the neighborhood has a pool and you don't have a pool, guess what? You're building a pool. If every house in the neighborhood every house in the neighborhood does not have a pool and yours has a pool, well, you're probably not going to get a bonus for that pool. I don't know if it's worth it to take it out. If you're a rental property, then most likely. But if it's a flip, yeah, just leave it in there. But don't think that, oh yeah, I got a pool. Don't believe, well, I don't want to be like all guns a-blazing, but your realtor that's going to come out, oh, you've got a pool. It's nice. This is so... No, it ain't gonna work if nobody else in the neighborhood has pools. Nobody gives a shit.
Pools are typically going to be worth somewhere between $6,000 and $9,000 generally to have that, like as a comparison between what having a pool and what not having a pool has. But yeah, I mean, I've pulled pools. Say that 10 times fast. Instead of like messing with it, I just ripped that thing out and put dirt in and put sod. It's just not worth messing with pools. Okay, go ahead.
I was just saying that we had a quick question.
Yeah.
Sean Robertson, how would you adjust your ARV if you're in your neighborhood with infills?
With infills?
Infills.
I actually don't know what infills are.
I don't know what that is either.
I'm sorry, man. Maybe I need to do.
Sean, teach us something.
Yeah, Sean, teach us something. I don't know what an infill is, man. I'm sorry. Is that like a vacant lot or? I don't know. We'll see what Sean has to say on that.
Sean, teach us what an infill is or what you're referring to. It might be just a semantics thing or, depending on what your location is or what your industry is.
Yeah.
I mean, it could be something obvious.
But yeah, just let us know what you mean by that.
Or it could be just filling in the pool. I don't know. But yeah. Anyway, we were talking about, he's like, you're already like, I gotta get out of here.
No, my phone started ringing. I was like, I thought this was on Do Not Disturb. It's Sean calling. Dude, an infill is a... Yeah. Okay, so anyway, let's jump back into, let's move away from the valuations. And just for the record,
Basics.
It's going to be really easy for us to tangent on like literally every single one of these. And I want to try to not tangent on these because these will be things that we will give lessons on in the future. But
don't worry, I'll let us tangent. That's my role here.
Okay, so moving back to definitions here, we've got your price per square foot there. One thing that you've heard me throw out a couple of times is we've talked about cent or percent, right? So if somebody says like, oh, I got this at 80 cents or I got this at 75%, what they're talking about is the price that they paid as a percentage of ARV. Okay? So I always like using $100,000 houses because it makes it really easy on my percentages because I'm not a smart man. But take, for example, we've got a house that's $100,000 ARV on it. If you were to buy that house at 75 cents or 75 cents on the dollar, 75%, that means that you're all in on that home for $75,000. Now, that might mean that you have $25,000 worth of rehab and $50,000 for the actual acquisition price. But your total that you're in on that deal, you're in at 75 cents, right? 75% of the ARV. Does that make sense? Huh? Does it make sense? Huh? Thanks, Trey. Trey gives me like this like light pity laugh from behind the camera just to keep. He's like, can you just move on?
Why is that relevant? Because it seems pretty obvious. It's like I'm buying at 80% of the ARV. Or I'm buying at 80 cents of the dollar. Isn't it basically the same stuff? Or
yeah, it's the same thing. It means the same thing.
Okay.
It's just that we're going to throw that around.
Terminology.
Yeah,
got it.
You're going to hear either I got cents on the dollar or percent or cents, something like that. All of those mean the same thing. It's just what percentage of the ARV is your basis.
Oh, that's what I was going to say. Because that was going to be my next one is like, are you going to do basis points and pips?
No, basis points, bips, that's not really applicable enough on outside of the lending side, but basis can mean, gosh, if I could only talk this morning. Basis can mean several things, and what it basically boils down to is what is your total, like what are you in it for, right? What are you in it for? So in that example I gave a second ago, it's like, okay, so we bought the house for $50, we put $25,000 worth of rehab into it, so we are in it for $75,000.
Right. Yes, tangent, there's lending fees, there's title fees, there's insurance fees, but come on now, let's just make it easy on us, everybody.
Well, and that's actually, I'm glad you say that because the next thing because that's our cash basis, right? That $75,000 is our cash basis. That's what we're in it with actual cash so far. And that might change, like you said. I mean, we won't count all the fees and stuff, but there are different types of bases. Basi. So you can have a cash basis. You can have total basis. Right? And so the reason why that might matter is let's take, for instance, an owner financed deal where we are taking over on somebody's payments. And we don't like to say taking over on payments, right?
Making payments on their behalf. Season 1, Grant, teach me something.
Here, when we're talking back and forth on the videos, I'm going to say taking over on payments, but we don't want to say that to our sellers because it implies that they may not have any responsibilities moving forward. And that's not what we want to imply by saying that because they do have their name on the loan even if you're taking over on payments. Again, a lesson for another time. But just knowing that here, between us gals, I'm going to say taking over on payments because it's faster.
Real quick, just because we shit on the guru people a lot. When we're talking about stuff like this, subject tos and owner financing and taking over payments, making payments on members' behalf, these strategies, yes, you can do. You can go out there out of the gate and do it. But if it's your first couple of these things, get a mentor. You know, have people on your team. Have a Scott Horn lawyer, a Matt Aycock lawyer. Have a Grant Kemp mentor. Have a Mitch Steven mentor, whatever. But have somebody on your team that can hold your hand, because if you mess this up, you can really mess it up.
Yeah, you really
can.
can.
A gajillion page contract.
I know.
But anyway, that's just quick side tangent,
Sure.
subtle plug.
Sure.
But I also subtle plug other people just so he didn't feel like he's too much ego over here.
Right. No, Mitch Steven, I'm glad you bring him up because he is awesome. Mitch,
Yeah.
Mitch is a good guy. There's a lot of crap mentors out there. There's a lot of crap people that are just there to take your money and sell you snake oil. But there are a few good ones, so seek them out. And JV with people and get mentors, that kind of thing. It is a good idea. So again, if we're taking over on payments, if we're taking over on somebody's loan at whatever, they owed, well, let's use that same number, right? They owed 50, right? So we took over on the $50,000 mortgage. But then we needed to put $25,000 worth of rehab into the house. So we actually reached into our back pocket and we pulled out 25 grand
Right.
and we rehabbed the house.
And the 50, well, we're making our $500 payment a month or whatever it is. You know.
It's debt, right?
Yeah.
And just to explain taking over on payments in case, for further foundation here, let's say that Ryan has a mortgage with a bank, right? It's at 4%, 25 more years left on it, and he gets in trouble and needs to sell. Well, I can buy the house and leave that mortgage in place at the bank and just continue making those payments on his behalf. That's what I'm talking about. One of the things that I love about owner financing so much is that you don't have to have cash to get into it. You need to have cash to maintain it,
Marketing,
but you
etc.
can get that cash through the transaction. The transaction can fund itself. So you're taking over on payments. You've already got that debt subsidized for you. It's a beautiful way to get into it. So that's what I'm referring to when I say taking over on payments.
Real quick, Torsten out of Arizona, make sure your mentor is doing deals today.
Yeah.
That's epic, because there's too many, hey, I did a lot of stuff in the 80s.
Yep.
Well, a lot of stuff has changed.
There's
Anyway.
there's a very popular mentor group here in Texas that I've had people come to me after going to them, and they were like, yeah, man, it was an excellent education. It was like a fast track to how to invest in the 90s. It's like, oh, that's ouch. Anyway, yes, doing deals today. What was I saying? Okay, so then in that case, if you've taken over on a $50,000 loan, well, your debt is 50, but your cash basis is that 25 that you put into it.
Right.
But your total basis is $75,000 because you're adding all your debt and all your cash together, and that's really what you're in it for. That's what you're in the deal at.
And I can sense that we're going somewhere, so I'll just jump the gun to make me look smart. But then you have the difference between ROI and then cash on cash returns. Right?
Yeah.
Or maybe not. His face is saying, no, that's not where I was going.
Oops, what did I do here? I'm messing everything up.
You're breaking stuff.
So ROI.
I don't know what it means. I just know the 3 letters.
Return on investment. Okay? So
The investment being $75,000 in this case.
right. So in this case, you've invested 75 grand. What is your return? As a percentage, as a, whatever. You can define how you want. It's typically done as a percent.
Right.
And so if you were in for 75,000 with a
You
basis.
sold it for 100. Woo, made 25.
Right. And so if you made in that example $25,000, what am I doing here? 25 divided by 75. Oh, duh, it's a third. See, I always rely on my calculator even when I don't need it. You would have a 25% return on your money at that point in time, an ROI, right? Now, cash on cash.
33%.
I'm sorry. Yes,
Yeah.
25 was the number. 33%.
Yeah.
33% ROI. Cash on cash, and you're right. That at that point in time, you would only be looking at your cash basis and seeing what your return. So if you put 25,000 in for the rehab, and then you made 25,000, that's 100% cash on cash return.
Which is good.
Yeah, I don't understand why I just don't get more 100% cash on cash returns. That's,
But the reason it's
simple.
relevant is because if you can do a deal where your all cash in is like $1,500 and you're walking away with like $8 grand, I don't know what the math is on that, but that's pretty damn good.
Yeah.
But your return on investment might be like 2%. I don't know.
Right.
I'm just being absurd to
I get
show it.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. So this brings up a good point in time to kind of address that, don't get intimidated by the fact that there's a lot of different ways to run deals and analyze deals and look at stuff like this. You don't have to know everything to make money in real estate. You really don't.
And I'll even trump that by saying you don't have to know anything.
Yeah,
you just
that's
have
true.
to have the effort to go out there and hunt something and have a network to rely on to go. So if I'm going around and I'm checking out at Kroger and I hear somebody say, man, I'm having some problems, well, I can help you out. And it's like, okay, cool. Shit. Hey, Grant, Daniel, Brian, can y'all go to a house with me? I think this person needs help.
Well, and it's like
Boom.
Corey's a big proponent, as anybody should be, of get the contract and then figure it out later.
Yeah.
You know, get the contract, figure it out later. If you can get them to their bottom dollar price, if you're not confident in it, don't act like you are, right? Don't be like, oh yeah, we can get this done, blah, 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 blah. If I ever get a contract and I'm not confident on something, I'm just like, I'll tell them, I'm like, look, straight up, I'm not sure that this price is really great for this area, but give me a couple of days to do some due diligence. Let's go ahead and get the contract signed today so that I know it's worth my time. And then you figure it out. Then you go reach out to somebody.
I'll contradict you a little bit on that, only because I'm not a fan of, like, I am a fan of just doing it and figure it out later. I get that. But if you're not a go-getter, if you're not actually going to follow through,
right.
like getting the contract and figure out later, like, that's a great strategy if you have 100,000% confidence in yourself that you can figure it out.
Well,
if you're new and you're like, I don't know what to do. If you don't have a network to go to, if you're not actively going to events and meeting people and shaking hands and have 1,000 card, I'm being absurd, but if you don't have a Rolodex, kids, is a thing where you used to put your contacts in and you would do it. Anyway, if you don't have some sort of a contact page to just start calling people up, hey, I got a contract, 123 Main Street, can you help, can you help, can you help, can you help? Then I'm not saying not get the contract. I'm just saying don't take, like, to me, a contract is a promise, it is, that I'm going to buy your house. You see where I'm going?
Right, but that's what I'm saying. Like, you just got to be honest with your seller, right? You got to have the option period. Get your option period so that they know when you're going to be hard on that contract, right? They know if you've got a 5-day option period or a 10-day option period or whatever that is, that once that 10 days rolls by, they're set. But if they understand that they're signing a contract with you and you're like, hey, look, I'm fairly certain I can get this done, but I need to talk to a couple people. I need to make sure that these numbers work. I need to get somebody out here to look at the repairs that are going on. Here's the number I can do with what I think it should work at, and I've got 10 days to figure it out. I've got no problem with that. As long as the seller understands what's going on. It's my same way with anything else, right? If the seller understands what's going on, do it. That's one of the big parts about, like, because with owner financing and taking over on payments, due on sale clause is going to be something that's of concern. And we'll talk about that in another episode once we've built everything up. But what I'm saying is, I'm cool with due on sale clause. Everybody, I think, should be cool with due on sale clause, but the seller needs to know what that clause is, that it is a risk, and if they're cool with it at that point in time, everybody's good to go. Right? Similar in this way.
But just to further rabbit hole this, because we brought it up, due on sale clause, like less than 1% of houses have ever on yours?
Yeah, oh yeah, definitely.
Like one house
Or
in a
I've seen
gajillion?
10,000 deals go through it this way, and fewer than 10 have ever been
8.
called.
Yeah, so it's not a big deal.
Yeah. So, so we've got our ARV, our price per square foot, cents, percentages, basis, ROI, cash on cash. Let's talk a little bit on the lending side of things, because you may see some terms like LTV. And I'm going to throw 2 terms and then we're going to define both of them, which is loan to value. I'm trying to think of, like, if we were like MC Hammer from back in the day, we could like come up with like a cool hand signal, you know, we'd be like loan to value, right? Because he did too legit to quit. We could be like loan to the number 2 and then flip it around like value. Okay, so there's loan to value.
Episode in.
There's loan to
One episode in, we're already there. It took at least 20 episodes to get to this phase.
Yeah, well.
I'm just playing. My favorite, if you're new to the Grant Teach or something, we do like to drop a lot of bombs, a lot of nuggets, but you know, it essentially just us up here having fun.
Yeah.
And my favorite thing in the world is to see Grant come up with a joke in his head.
That I'm so proud of.
And he is so proud of me deadpan him and just see, like, it's literally like a little kid opening up a gift at Christmas and he thought he was getting an Xbox and he got socks instead.
No, it's so sad to me.
Because
like I'm just on a. I don't know if anybody's
So
like, right, guys? Right,
So
right,
great.
guys. You like me, right? Okay, loan to value, loan to cost. Two different things. Loan to value is going to be referring to the loan to, and like if we're talking in terms of investment loans, right, where we're discussing ARVs, always value when we talk in like an LTV on a loan, we're meaning the ARV. So if you were to come to a hard money lender, who's a good Kelly? Kelly Smith, right? She does hard money.
Easy Street Capital.
Easy Street Capital. You go to a hard money lender like Easy Street Capital, Kelly Smith. I'll get paid later. Cha-ching. I'm just kidding. We don't get paid for shout-outs. Right?
We should.
We should get paid for shout-outs. Anyway, you go to her and you're like, hey, I need to get a loan for this deal. And she says, okay, I will loan up to, I don't know what her real number is. Let's say 70% LTV. What she's meaning is that once it's fixed up, if that ARV was 100, she's going to be able to loan you up to $70,000. So if you are buying the house for $50,000, but it needs $25,000 worth of work in it, that means she's expecting you to put up $5,000 to finish out that rehab, and she'll give you the $70,000. Now she's gonna have points and fees and that kind of stuff, and you can learn more about hard money. Who teaches the hard money? There's a hard money course on.
We have two. We have Mike
Albright.
No, not Hambright. Mike.
Hambright.
Man. Oh my God.
There's
I've known him for years. It's from InvestMark Mortgage. Mike Hanna.
There you go.
And then Chris Jameson from
okay.
SF Lending.
Gotcha.
But yeah.
So yeah, if you go to the Propelio Academy, which is just what, propelio.com/academy?
Correct.
Propelio.com/academy. Sign up for that. You can learn more about the hard money lending side of things there. But they say loan to value, they're going to give you 70. They expect you to come up with 5 to finish out that rehab. Now, the difference there might be, let me reverse that. Let me do a little bit different of an example. Let's act like there's no rehab, because this is going to make this example a little bit easier. Let's act like there's no rehab on this house, and you're buying it for $70,000 or $75,000. Okay, then in the first case, same kind of thing. You need to put up 5. They'll put up the 70. If they're saying that they will do 70% of loan to cost, LTC, that means that they're going to lend you 70% of the $70,000 it's going to take to buy that house. Okay? Banks are typically more the loan to cost people. Hard money lenders are typically more the loan to value people, but they can intertwine there. But that can be a confusing one for people because it sounds very similar. LTC, LTV, loan to value, loan to what it would be worth eventually, or loan to cost of what is it actually going to cost, and we will give you a percentage of that.
So we've got several questions coming in.
Yeah.
Keep them coming in. We're going to take a 2-second break real quick. But while we're taking a break, jump in those comments, ask your questions, and when we come back, right after these messages, we will answer your questions. And I'm talking to you, Cameron. We'll get there. Welcome back. Grand teach yourself to season 2. Anyway, Cameron Peters, he's out of Virginia.
Cool.
So I don't know if that means anything as far as regulations. We're in Texas, so consult your own attorneys.
We are not attorneys.
We're not attorneys.
We're not CPAs.
We're not CPAs.
We're not licensed. We're not representing you in any way.
We're not financial planners.
We're not financial planners.
We don't even do real estate. I'm just kidding. Anyway, Cameron Peters, I presented an owner financing offer. Seller said the lowest he would accept is $150,000. We were able to make the number work for the purchase price. The seller came back to say, I need present value for the house, and your offer equates to roughly $70,000 present value. Suggestions on how to approach this?
That's a little bit of a confusing, I don't think we have all the information there, okay? I've got a little bit of a syntax error on that. So present value, if they're saying present value, yeah, let me take a look at this too. I'm gonna reread this for you guys.
Because Ryan can't read.
I presented an owner financing offer. Seller said the lowest he would accept is $150,000. We were able to make that number work for the purchase price. The seller came back to say, I need present value, PV, for the house, and your offer equates to roughly $70,000 PV. Suggestion on how to approach this. Okay, so I think what's happening here, let's bust out this calculator. This is the 10B2 calculator. First of all, if your seller said that to you, they are a very sophisticated seller. So you're going to have to...
Run!
Yeah, no, not necessarily, but you're going to have to kind of know what you're doing. No, I shouldn't say you're going to... But they're going to have questions like this that, like I've bought hundreds of houses, and I've never had to deal with anybody asking me for what my PV was on a house. I'll put it that way, you know? So, but here's what we're looking at. When you look at a 10B2 calculator, this top row, we've got N, I/YR, PV, PMT, and FV. That's the only thing that really matters in the grand scheme of things on the calculator. N stands for number of payments. So here, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to kind of draw this out for us. So N is going to be number of payments, which means if we have a 30-year mortgage, we do not put 30 here, we put 360 here into N, right? Because it's 360 payments that make up 30 years, 360 months. I/YR, you can probably guess which that one is. I/YR, that one stands for interest per year. Okay. Now, I prefer using this 10B2 calculator. You can see it on the top left of my screen, 10BII. That's what the logo looks like. This 10B2 calculator is the one I would recommend you getting. I think it's $6 on the App Store. It works both Android and iOS. But there are many other calculators. There's the 12C, these other kinds of things. But for the sake of, if you want to follow along with these lessons and see the same buttons that I'm seeing at the same time, I recommend you go spend the $6 and get this calculator.
He gets 15% of everything.
Yeah, I wish. I need to email them too. Yeah, can I get an affiliate link?
Can I get an affiliate link for your $6 phone app?
Okay, so then you've got, so let's say for instance, let's go ahead and fill this out. I already put 30 years in for my N, but let's say that we're talking about, I'm going to take a wild stab and say, well, I guess it matters on term. I'm just going to say 6%. Say that we wanted 6% on this mortgage. PV is the next one over. PV stands for, really, it honestly stands for present value. I'm always going to say principal value because it makes more sense to us in the real estate world, but it's really present value. And what that means is the money in, well, I guess I should put the quotes over principal because that's the one I'm changing. Anyway, the money in today's terms is worth this, okay? So, well, I'll just finish the definitions and then we'll put something in there. Then PMT, can anybody guess what PMT is? Huh?
Last time I said something, it was a bad joke.
Payment. PMT stands for payment, so that one's really easy. And then FV is your final one over here, and it stands for final value. I'm all about the word plays today. I'm just going to keep doing that. Okay, so N, I/YR, PV, PMT, FV. The way that this calculator works is that you're going to put in 4 of those items up top, and it's going to solve for the 5th one. So FV, in our world, FV is always going to be 0 because what that stands for is at the end of this loan, how much is going to be still due. Mm-hmm. You would put a number in there if you're doing balloon loans. Like if you're like, hey, at the end of 10 years, they're still going to owe $50,000. What does my, whatever. Right. That's how you would use that. But for our terms, we're always using FV because we're fully amortized. So let's go from left to right here, and we're going to insert 4 of the items and solve for that 5th one. So N, I'm going to throw in there a 30-year loan. Now, what we don't know from Sean, and why I say there's somewhat of a syntax error, is in order to tell you the answer of what he's looking for, I need to know some of these other things. What I don't know is if there was an interest discussed, like an interest rate discussed, and if there was a what's the word I'm looking for? A number of payments, a time frame, an amortization schedule.
We're still talking about Cameron.
I'm sorry, I said Sean.
Yeah, he hadn't responded.
Okay, so if it was offered for 30 years at 6%, $150,000, and a payment, well, that would make the payment $899. Okay, so what I'm going to theorize happened is, let's say that we did a 0% offer to him on
15 years, 0 interest.
Okay, there we go. I was actually going to put that in. That we did a 15-year 0% interest offer. Well, that means the payment would be $833. And so what essentially Cameron said is, hey, seller, I'll buy your house for $150, but instead of just giving you $50,000 right now, I'm going to split that up into 180 payments into 15 years, and
payment $600.
I'm going to pay you $833 a month. What the seller, because he's sophisticated, did is he went to his calculator and he said, no, I'm not good with 0% interest. I want some interest. And what did he say that made his PV was 75, right?
70,000.
So he said, for the interest rate that I want to be willing to give you this loan for 180 payments or 15 years, for the interest rate that I want, that means that I'm only actually making $75,000. So I'm going to type 75 into PV because he told us that, and then I'm going to solve for the interest. That means that this guy wants a 10.6% interest rate on his money. He was okay with the $833 a month. He was okay with the 15 years. But he was not okay with 0% interest. He wants to make over 10% on his money, which, if you calculate that all out, he's like, I want 10% on my money. And if I want 10% on that money, that means that in today's terms, you're only paying me $75,000. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So,
basically, what you're saying is, yes, I'm offering $150, but in his mind, he's like, I'm only getting paid $75,000.
Right. Because what he looked at, and what I did here, if we go back to the calculator, I'll show you. What he looked at is he clicked on this orange button. He looked at the amortization schedule, and he said, what would my total paid number? Can you see that? That's the third blue number from the top. My total paid number, including interest and principal, would be $150 over 15 years, right? But I want 10% on my money. Therefore, you're really only paying me $75,000 today with a 10% interest rate. Ultimately, yeah, you're giving me $150. In the long run, yeah, that's what I'm getting over 15 years is $150,000. But I'm unwilling to put that out for 0% interest. So your approach back to that guy is going to have to be a discussion about interest, because that's why he's saying your PV is $75,000 instead of $150.
Right.
How's that for a foundations course, huh?
Yeah, I was like, wow, that's very foundation-y. Let's go to Sean, because he was just talking about the infill. No, it was somewhere else. Sorry, I jumped the gun. Y'all having fun with the new set yet? No? Okay.
Yeah.
Torsten was saying earlier, being overconfident, it can hurt the seller in being overconfident to the seller can hurt negotiations. Again, that's just reading your audience.
Yeah, I absolutely, confidence is a huge name of the game. Mm-hmm. Being able to talk smack, that's why I get offers accepted all the time, because I'm just like, yeah, I'm the guy. I'm the guy that's going to close this. They're not, right? But I know that I'm the guy that's going to close this, right? Like I said, there's been several houses that I've bought over my career where it's like, I didn't know that for sure that I was going to be able to close this, and I just told him, I'm like, look, if anybody can do it, it's me, but I'm not sure this deal is going to close, so I need this option period, because I might have to cancel this contract and not go to closing with you.
And we've done videos in the past about the head, heart, gut.
Yeah.
And it basically just reading your audience and know who you're talking to. Sean, earlier we're talking about infill. Mm-hmm. He was talking about a tear down with a new construction. Yeah, I mean, that makes sense now, but I mean,
I've never heard it called that. Yeah.
I haven't heard it. I've learned scraping vertical.
Learned a new phrase today.
Yeah,
okay, so what was the original question then? It was how do you account for a comp on your property if there are other houses that have new builds on it? I think was what the question was.
I don't know.
Okay, I think that's what the question was how do you account for comps?
Well, my question was, how are you adjusting your ARV if you have new builds? New builds being, or infills being new constructions.
Right.
The way I would do it is they're not comparable.
Exactly.
You comp, if you're planning on scraping and building to the new build, then yeah, it's a comp. But if you're just going in there and going, okay, I'm taking this house and I'm going to comp it or rehab it to whatever the other houses are, then no, it's not a comp. But again, that's where experience comes into play, because if you're in your head, you're listening to Grant teach me something and going, oh, well, Ryan and Grant said only use a plus or minus 5 years on my year build, and this is a $300,000 house, so I'm going to fix up to a $300,000 house, but one block away or on the same street, you've got 1,000,002 houses. Well, you're probably better off, like you said, tearing it down and infill it, or scraping vertical, or whatever you want to call it. tear the damn thing down and build a new house because 1.2 million is a lot more than 300,000.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. So yeah,
they're not comparable.
Yeah, exactly right. So when we say comp means comparable. The whole phrase behind comping says you need to look at what this house would end up being, because people pay for. Gosh, what's the best way to put it? So like when you look at a neighborhood and you're looking at what houses sold for, okay?
Like for like, that's the easiest way to look at it.
Yeah, like for like. You want to find 3 houses that are right about the same size as yours, built right about the same time as yours, with the same amount of bedrooms, the same amount of bathrooms. Everything needs to be pretty much the same about them, right? Within plus or minus a little margin. You find 3 of those. Those are your comparables. You can compare your house because you're saying, look, people who buy a house that looks like this in this neighborhood are willing to pay $175,000. Well, therefore, I have this house, let's make it look like that, and then make people pay $175,000 for it, because that's what the market has shown us. You can't say your 1960s build is going to get the same price as an infill, to use our newly found phrase, because it's not a comparable. It's not a brand new house.
Right. And Frank Spalding, thanks for joining us, man. I've never seen you on the live stream, so thank you. But he was saying, on this subject, look for the nearest new construction to comp against the new infill. Yes and no. If there's only one new build in the neighborhood, unless you have big enough pockets to make markets and make comps in that neighborhood, I don't know if I would pull the trigger and have that much risk tolerance to go in and have that much faith on one new build. If there's 2 or 3 in the neighborhood, yeah. But if there's only one, I don't know. I don't know if I have. I mean, I know my pockets aren't deep enough to be able to roll with that.
Yeah,
that's
more of a risk. It is. You can't go new build because you can't look for the nearest new build neighborhood, because those people are paying that money to live in a neighborhood of newly built houses. That's not what the house is worth. That's what the experience of that house is worth, right? So maybe that's one of the things that we really need to. There's my golden nugget for the day, right? A comped price is not necessarily what the house is worth. It's what the experience of that house is worth, which is why you can't pull from another neighborhood, because that experience is going to be different, right? You may have different amenities and different everything's over there. If you're buying in this neighborhood, the most important thing, like if you were to rank like an order of valuation, like first you need to have the same neighborhood. It has to. You can't cross a major road. Heck, sometimes the houses that backyards back up to each other, you can't use the comp from the one whose backyard backs up to it because it's in a different neighborhood. You have to be in the same neighborhood. Then you have to have the same amount of bedrooms. You should have the same amount of bathrooms. I say have to. I mean, there's going to be outlier cases where they just don't exist, and you've got to kind of go different there. Have to have the same number of bedrooms. Should have the same number of bathrooms. Need to be within plus or minus 10% of square footage. Need to be plus or minus like 5 years in the year built.
Yeah, my neighborhood is where I live is a perfect example of this topic. And the reason that is where I live, the townhome I live in was built in 07. When it was built, it was immediately sold for $800,000. Then, market crashed. Guess what happened? Foreclosure. My house used to be a brothel, and we picked it up for...
Used to be? What was I doing there on Thursday?
Exactly. Picked it up for $150,000. Picked up next door for $180,000. So now you got 2 townhomes for a little over $300,000, which is 3,000 square feet, 3,000 square foot in a barrio type neighborhood where, for several years, nothing was going on. I've been held at gunpoint around the corner in 2011. Lost a girlfriend over that because she never wanted to visit after that, but whatever. But most recently, in the past 3 years, there was a house across the street that got scraped and infilled.
I'm sure every time we've used it,
no, we're gonna snicker. But that house was bought for $100,000. They tore it down. It was the first one in the neighborhood. They tore it down, and they built a duplex where they sold the 2 duplexes for $500,000 each. And you're thinking, holy shit, 100 to $1 million? That's pretty good. Obviously, there's those construction fees. Fast forward to today. Now, lot value is $400,000, but the duplexes that are being built are $800,000. That being said, it took a long time to go from that $500,000 to that $800,000 and that 100 to 400,000. So it took like 3 to 4 years. So on this topic of, oh, just go in there and build it, well, if you were going to do, my whole long-winded way of doing that is if you went in and comped off of our townhome back in 07, 08, 09, you would have lost your ass because you would have thought you were going to get $800,000 for your townhome. But in fact, it ended up being 100,000, 150,000. And nowadays, yeah, if you stayed in it long enough, you'd be okay.
Yeah.
But you would have lost your ass. That's my point is wait until somebody else turns the neighborhood. That's all I'm saying.
That's awesome.
Sorry. Jared Weaver, Texas appraisers give a max value for a pool for $30,000, then depreciate it over the next 5 years.
That's good to know.
That's
Yeah,
a
that's
good point. Thank you, Jared.
I will say, and it's funny because I do a class on my academy for pools, and like I said, you're typically getting 6,000 to 9,000. And I should let you know that I'm working in houses whose ARVs are 250 and below. When I say that, right? If you've got some like ridiculously, hugely, wonderfully landscaped pool, it's typically maybe you're gonna get 11 grand off of it. But it was funny because I was actually running comps to show people that, and like literally it was like the houses that had one got $8,000 more than the other ones. But it's really good to know how the actual appraisers are handling that. That's great.
Jamal, comps for sold in the last 6 months? Yes and no. If you can get, sometimes the market shifts so much that it's 3 months. Sometimes the market's so slow that you got to go back a year and a half. So it's just a matter of what.
Here's a great way to think about that. And I was actually introduced to this when the FICO scoring was being explained to us, because what FICO means, like for credit scores, is FICO is a number that represents the likelihood of a 30-day late in the next 24 months. Okay, and the way that they calculate that out is, here's the example. If you were going to be looking at your favorite sports team, I'm going to say the Dallas Cowboys. If we were looking at the Cowboys and you're saying, how likely are the Cowboys to win the Super Bowl this year? What is the most important factor of looking at that? The most important factor is going to be, what did they do last year? Right? What did they do last week? What did they do? That's going to be the most important factor. What they did in the 90s doesn't really factor into what they're going to do this year for the Super Bowl. So I say that to say the most heavily weighted thing is recency in these types of deals.
Right.
You need to be as close to today as you can with your comps. The further back you go, the less likely it is to represent what's going to happen today, because recency is key.
Right, because you can go two different directions. Say you have a neighborhood where there was some kind of economic data information dropped, and all of a sudden the last 2 weeks the houses are being sold for 30% more than everything else. You want to jump on that train.
Yeah.
Same thing if, say, the same kind of data and everything's going 30% below, if you price it at what the comps say, your days on market may be high. CLTV, combined loan to value.
Combined loan to value, that's going to, okay, so CLTV.
What is that, sir?
CLTV, combined, I'm just going to put combined LTV because we have LTV defined up there. So with combined LTV, what that's going to be is like, so maybe you have two different lenders and we want to buy that house that's going to be worth 100, but you've got a $50,000 acquisition and a $25,000 rehab. Well, you get a $50,000 loan from lender 1 and a $25,000 loan from lender 2. Your CLTV is going to be 75%. Where it's going to be most commonly seen is going to be like on a consumer loan. We don't see these so much anymore, but you used to see like the 80-20 loans where they would give you like an 80% loan at this rate, and then they would give you like 80% of your purchase price would be at this rate for this term, and then 20% was going to be at a variable rate for 5 years, right? So they gave you two separate loans, a first and a second lien on 80-20. Then if you put both of those together and compared that to the value of the property, that would be your CLTV, your combined loan to value. Answer?
Cool.
So
I've got.
Thank you. That's a good question.
I've got a probate question.
Okay.
And I'm going to read it, and then we're going to go to.
Actually, before we start that, unless it's defining probate, I would like to define probate.
Divine. What a probate is.
Probate.
I love how you spell POR.
Well, that was supposed to be an R, but it came out looking real rough, and I was like, it's closer to an O. Let's just do that. So probating is like colloquially what that means is someone died.
Define colloquially. Just kidding.
In our common language, the way that it's going to get thrown around, when we say probate, we're talking about somebody died and there's a house, their house needs to be sold.
Yeah.
Probate, the act of probating is actually the act of taking somebody's will through a probate court and getting that all put together. So if you hear people say, this has not gone through probate court yet, that means that their will has not been set in stone yet. It exists, that kind of stuff.
And this, I'm glad you put it that way, because it seems like there's a large problem within the real estate community of semantics. It's like there's a large fight between what's a wholesaler. If you're not buying it, contracting it, owning it, and then that's wholesale. It's like, calm down. It's like if the overwhelming majority of people use a word as a certain definition, guess what?
Yep.
I forgot what that word is, but that's the definition.
Right.
So if a wholesaler
It's kind of the reason why literally has no meaning anymore.
Exactly.
Because Webster has changed the definition to mean figuratively, because everybody uses it to mean figuratively.
Because literally everybody uses it that way. No, but again, though, that's just in real estate, people get defensive of terms. It's just like, who cares? Worry about getting more contracts. Don't worry about what somebody calls something. If the overall majority of people call probate a dead guy and not necessarily the probate process, that's what we're getting. Anyway, so I'm going to read James' question here, and then we're going to cut to a quick break, because, got to get our plugs in, baby. And then that'll give Grant an opportunity to come up with the answer. All right, so here it is. Stick around. Probate question from James Cabell. I have a seller wanting to sell a house that his sister, who passed in February, owned. He believes he's the one that will inherit the property because his sister inherited it from the will of their mother when she passed. This will had cases: 1, if the daughter lived longer than her, she would get the home, but 2, if not, he would get it. Obviously, the sister ended up inheriting the property, but since she recently passed, he believes it now goes to him by default because of the will. I don't know how to handle this. The home is 100% owned by the sister. Any suggestions? Follow up. Should I get this under contract first, then figure out the rest? Can his cost me if things don't work out? We're going to answer that right after these short messages.
I like how you push. Okay.
So recap, probate question. There was a lot of, James had a case where you've got the seller thinks he has the house, but it was his sister's and et cetera. If you really want to know the question, just back up 45 seconds.
Right. Okay, so that brings up another definition for us, and this is going to be, so so we talk about probate if somebody died. If that person has a will, that will be put through the probate court, or should be, if they're and that is called a testate succession. That is called a testate deal. I'm forgetting the word there. Anyway, it's testate. If there is no will, then you fall under the laws of what's called intestate succession. Intestate succession then has certain rules that say, like, okay, and so I guess I need to write those down. We've got testate, which means has will, and intestate means no will. Then you've got intestate succession, and that is, I'm not going to write all this down, where the property goes if somebody doesn't have a will. So I'm going to do like a little home, no will, because I don't like writing that many words. So, what matters most is the fact that this daughter got ownership of the house. That daughter owned the house 100% from the original will. Now the original will has been satisfied. Now what matters is, what does that daughter have in place? Does she have a will? Because if so, then that asset then gets transferred due to her will. If she does not have a will, then it will follow intestate succession. And is this the guy from Virginia?
No.
Okay. Well, either way.
James, where are you from, man?
Your state matters on intestate succession. It's gonna.
She had no will.
Okay, so you are in intestate succession. So then, if you're in Texas, the way that it's going to go is that the first person that the property goes to is the husband. Okay. If there's a husband involved, the husband gets the property. If there is not a husband involved, the children get the property.
San Antonio.
If the children are not there, then the brother gets the property. Then it goes to nearest blood relative. So it's husband first, children second, nearest blood relative. So they would have to qualify through all those things. She would have to have no kids and no husband, and then yes, the brother does have the property. And at that point in time, because there wasn't a will.
Can you draw that real quick?
Yes.
Like stick figures or something? Just because I think that's relevant.
Okay, so
and Trey, you don't need to show him drawing, and just wait till he's done or something.
You don't need to show him drawing? What?
No, I'm just saying, like, on the screen itself. Like, show
okay.
us
Gotcha.
hanging out.
Okay, so you've got the lady, the homeowner. Now, in intestate succession...
I'm just kidding. You can show it.
In intestate succession, the first priority here is husband. Then the second priority is going to be children. Get them little childrens. Okay? And then, if those fail, then you go to third, nearest, oops, gosh darn it. Skirt. Nearest blood relative. And then, after that,
you're welcome, folks.
Skirt. Fourth, it goes to step children. There you go. My beautiful drawing, impromptu intestate succession.
But you know what, though? I'm glad we did this. I know it was thrilling TV, but there's so many. Seems like something that everybody's always so confused over.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I'm glad we did it.
Now,
and by we, I mean you.
Now, if you are running into intestate succession, that is where you're going to get another term. So this, believe it or not, does tie into today's episode.
Grant's like mad at me already going, dude, I had a plan of
No, that's fine. This
rails.
is good. I liked, though, that this was from Sean, right? Was our question?
This is from James.
James, I liked how you at the end said, or should I just get a contract and figure it out later to like try and tie it into today's episode? That was slick. That was slick. Okay, so what you're gonna have to run into in that situation if there is no will, for it to become the owner of whoever that next person is in intestate succession.
She has one child, but he thinks that she has one child, but he thinks that because of the will, he's entitled.
Nope, he's not. He's not. Sorry. Once the transfer occurs, because remind me, the will was only phrased if the daughter survived her, the daughter got it. If the daughter did not survive her, the son got it, right?
I believe so.
Yeah. So the will has been satisfied by the daughter getting it. He has no claim to it. It's the child's property at this point in time, unfortunately.
But as an investor, what he should be doing is, well, let me contact the seller.
Yeah.
Or, hey, what's the daughter's information?
Yeah. I mean, still try to get that deal, but it's not his.
Right.
If you don't have a will and you're having to go through intestate succession, that is another area that or another definition that we will want to look at, which is going to be an affidavit of heirship. Gosh, my handwriting is so beautiful.
Marcus, you just dropped something. I don't mean to.
No, go for it.
But this seems like a slam dunk deal. Guys, please help. 175,000 ARV, 100,000 mortgage balance, 8,000 in back payments. House livable condition goes to foreclosure next week.
You can't do anything with it. Bring it to me.
Yeah, that's. I'm hearing $67,000 on the table.
Yeah. Yeah, what's the it
what's
goes to
the hang up,
foreclosure
Marcus?
next week? Is it?
I don't know
what state is he in?
What state are you in? But from my perspective, that's. I mean, hell, you could wholesale that thing.
Yeah. Where's my?
I don't know. What are you watching?
Just guys with pink hat. It was the Cambridge Analytica testimony.
It was a what?
Because that's what I've watched. Cambridge Analytica's testimony to the UK Prime Minister or whoever.
Hi, my name is Grant Kemp, and I'm an incredible nerd.
Basically. Dang it! I had a calculator for. Oh yeah. So you're 110 into a deal that's worth 175. That's a 63-cent deal. Yeah, I mean, buy that house. Why are you not buying that house?
Yeah, buy it. I mean,
I'll buy that house.
That seems like a slam dunk. There's got to be more to the table of why you're not.
The rehab number is what I'm.
But he said it's livable now.
Yeah, but livable and sellable are two different things.
It's true, but I mean, if it's livable, go live in it yourself.
Right, and you can even sell it at a discount right there.
I mean, you can owner finance wrap that thing.
Oh yeah, totally. It'd be great. Yeah, you should. I mean, yeah, this is.
Yeah, out of all the, I mean, and I'm not trying to be mean or anything, or seem like I'm coming.
Well, it wasn't even going to come out mean, but now that you said I'm not trying to be mean.
I know, but it's like, bro, go get that house, man. That's like one that you should contract with like blood.
So let me kind of hop over to that topic for a second. When we're talking about LTVs, we're talking foundations here, not just abbreviations. One of the foundations is if you get a house for 70 cents or below, you buy the house.
Yeah.
That's a 63-cent deal. 75 cents is 70 cents is like kind of the traditional. 75 cents is where most people had to go to feel comfortable. Where a lot of it / most people are today, like in Dallas DFW, is 82%. I don't recommend buying cash for a flip by any means at 82 cents, but people are there.
Yeah.
So all I'm saying is if you find that deal for under 70, you buy that house. And if you don't have the capital, with gusto. If you don't have the capital for it, somebody will have the capital for it and JV with you. I don't know who you could possibly find that would like JV for a deal.
I don't know who's out there.
That's weird.
If anybody else is in the comment section wants to buy Marcus's help or JV with him. I mean, I don't know. I don't know any personally. That's my hand is up saying, hey, let me buy that house.
Ryan's like, I got the deal. My hand was up longer. Anyway, so let's do the deal, man. Let's hop back in. Affidavit of heirship. The way that an affidavit of heirship goes is that when you hear that phrase, and that's actually one of the lead sources that you'll look for. Isn't affidavit of heirship on Propelio? I don't run our marketing anymore.
Yeah.
So the Propelio, if you're a member of Propelio.com, they give you the affidavit of heirship leads. What that is if there's not a will, then you can do legal paperwork that's really easy. You have to get three disinterested. I think it's two disinterested parties.
Marcus, I hate you. This is his first deal. I mean, I love you, but I hate. He's like, it's my first deal. Just needed to hear from you guys.
Yeah, man.
I don't want to use your word, but he called the experts. I'm like, we'll just say we're us guys. But but that's your first deal, dude.
Yeah.
Go contract that. Like, end this live stream and get
streaming.
It right now.
We'll be here.
We'll be here. We'll get you on the replay.
Get the deal, man. Congratulations, too.
Yeah, that's badass.
Congratulations.
If your first deal is 63 cents, yeah.
Yeah. That's cool.
That's awesome. Everybody give kudos to Marcus. Damn.
Yeah, right? Throw a like or a heart up for Marcus.
Yeah.
There we go. We got applause in the background. So with the affidavit of heirship, if there is not a will, you need to get two disinterested parties. In Texas, this is how it works. Two disinterested parties to sign a notarized affidavit that says, yes, I knew Jill. Jill died. Jill had 3 kids, and their kids' names were Bill, Brad, and Bailey, you know?
So we're getting close to the end.
Yep.
We've answered a lot of questions. Keep those questions coming. So even if we don't answer them on the live stream, we're very adamant about answering them in the comment section afterwards.
Right.
So keep those coming. Also, we'll give a couple books away at the end of this through a comment picker. I know. We can either do 2 books to 2 winners or 2 books to 1 winner. What do you think?
I don't know.
I'm
going to vote. I'm looking over here. I'm going to vote for Rich Dad Poor Dad since we're doing foundations, right? That was actually the first book that I read that inspired me to do
we'll do
it.
5 copies of. We'll do 5 winners for Rich Dad Poor Dad.
Okay.
And the reason being is and again, I talked about this on Monday a lot about we crap on the big chain guru people, and the Rich Dad Education series is one of those. That being said, the book itself is a badass book. It literally sets the foundations of a lot of investors. I mean, this book is what changed Daniel's life.
Yeah, me too. I mean, that was the thing that I read, and I think that the people that crap on this book expect it to be an instruction manual, and it's not.
It's a mindset.
It's a mindset. It's an inspirational book.
Same thing with this guy. These
Richest
two books
Man in
right here.
Babylon.
These 2 books right here are amazing mindset, and not just like do the work, but like the power of money itself.
One of my favorite takeaways from Rich
We'll do
Dad
3 and 3.
From Rich Dad Poor Dad, one of my favorite takeaways was Michael Jordan didn't just become like the best basketball player. Peyton Manning is, and I'm butchering this, I'm putting this in my own words. Peyton Manning was not the ridiculous quarterback that he was just out of natural ability. He saw something that he wanted to be good at, and he studied it and got good at it. If you want to make a lot of money, if that's your thing, then you need to study it and get good at it. The people who have money are not people who sat on the sidelines wondering how money worked, right? Those are the people that figured out how money worked and got it working for them. So yeah, I think that'll be a good one for you. And so we'll be closing up here soon, but I want to give you a preview of next week. So today we talked a lot about like abbreviations, some of the foundations there. Next week I'm going to take it one step further, and we're going to start talking about some of the foundations to the strategy itself, how the definition of owner financing coordinates with a wraparound mortgage and subject to, and all these different phrases that you might hear. What is a balloon? What is an interest-only loan? That kind of stuff. So we did more abbreviations today. Next week, come back and we'll set some of our foundations so that as we learn together moving forward this season, we all will have this knowledge to go to, and as more and more people jump in and need to know these things, we'll be able to direct them back to watch these foundations videos and build that knowledge off of that. So I'm excited about where we're going this
Yeah,
this
that
season.
being said, we don't need to necessarily end like right now. So I know there was a handful of abbreviations you want to get to. Did we get to all of them?
Did.
Did we get a couple more? So you're like,
unless
okay.
there's more out there that people are curious about, but those things, basis, the LTV, the ARV, that kind of stuff, those are the things that I really wanted to get out there. Percentages, because that's really what gets over a lot of people's heads.
Cool. So Matt Smith, you wanted one of the books, so please choose Richest Dad, Man.
Richest Man
Choose
on
one of these books.
Boulevard.
Shoot me a DM, which one you want. We'll go from there, man. Let me screenshot that so I don't forget.
That's awesome.
Boom. What else we got going on?
So we got the Propelio Academy just launched on Monday. I do recommend that you guys go out there and check that out. There's going to be more and more educators releasing.
So we haven't chatted since then. There are some bugs in it, like it is. So please, if you've got bugs, report, not bed bugs on the Academy. Send an email to academy@propelio.com. Let us hear it. Let us know what's going on. The only way we can fix it is if the community helps us.
Yeah.
If you'll notice, there's like we keep on talking about, we've got a gajillion courses. We do. But you know what? It's a little bit easier to figure out the bugs if there's 4 or 5 courses than a gajillion. Right. And we also wanted to give an opportunity for y'all to really get to know this lovely man because he's done a beast of work there. So Creative Cash Flow, what is that? Who are you? What do you do?
Yeah, so CreativeCashFlow.com. This is every week when you see Grant Teach Me Something, it's a partnership between CreativeCashFlow.com and Propelio.com. We are 2 different companies that have the same why, and that why is shared with what you guys have, and that why is we want more, right? We want more out of what's being offered, and so that's what I say. CreativeCashFlow.com is for the investors who want more, they get it, right? What I do there is it's the education side. I'm really passionate about this. I'm really passionate about training people how this stuff works. And so I do have the Academy online on CreativeCashFlow.com. I also do a live Q&A for all of my students every Monday night. Do a live stream where I answer all their questions and that kind of stuff, and that can be a great way to learn too. And yes, I've got a ton of modules and lessons for free on the Propelio Academy. But there's some other more specific stuff that we're releasing through CreativeCashFlow.com that is exclusive to CreativeCashFlow.com. For instance, I've got the negotiation series coming out this week. Then we're getting into more compliance, more of the technicalities and that kind of stuff. So check out Propelio.com. See if you like my teaching style, which I hope that you do. And if you don't, please let me know why or what I could do to do better. But then go check us out at CreativeCashFlow.com. I also do personal mentoring as well. So if you are the type of person who does better with somebody kind of holding your hand and teaching you things from the ground up from there, I do that as well. That one's expensive. Creative Cash Flow is not.
Yeah, and on top of that, and I know we always talk about the difference between mentors and the traveling education guru types. Can you quickly give your opinion on what that difference is and why Grant Kemp is different?
Yeah, for sure. So literally the reason why I'm in education is because I paid money to somebody's course that I will not name, and I got in there, and it was just one of those courses where it was like, hey, pay me $5,000 so I can teach you how to pay me 10, and then if you pay me 10, I'll teach you how to pay me 25, and that's not what education should be, right? And so again, when I say about the why, for the investor who wants more, that's what Creative Cash Flow stands for. That's what Propelio is for. Is like, we want to go out there and say, look, there's no reason that we have to use all these psychological tricks to trick people into paying more and more money. That's not how it should be. The education space should be real education that the people deserve to get. And too many of the gurus are the type who have studied the NLP and all of the great marketing tactics, and they will figure out how to get you to sign them a check. And they've probably at their big event, they've probably got a table in the back with people who can sign you up for credit cards to pay for their program and all that kind of crap. And that is not what education should be, and we are adamant about that. Education should be real from people who've done it and are willing to open up their book to show you exactly what they've done. I've been there, I've done that.
Still doing it.
And still doing it, right. I mean, I've done over $75 million worth of transactions in real estate with owner financing alone, not counting the flips and all that other kind of stuff. So you got to learn from somebody who's been there and have that foundation to stand on. I was here I didn't pay for my mentoring, but I did pay for my mentoring through JV. Basically, I partnered up with Scott Horn early on in my career. He got a third of all my deals at least for the next 5-6 years. We just split our partnership this last month, 2 months ago, something like that. So, I paid for it ultimately, but you should always have that foundation. You should have somebody else who's experienced to stand on and help you get successful when you're trying to get there. And that's what a good mentor offers.
So I just dropped several winners in the comment section.
Winner. Who we got?
Sydney, Cameron, Matt, I think Kirsten, Jared. Anyway, if I dropped your name in the comment section, please send me a direct message, a DM with your address and which book you want. Again, we're giving away either The Richest Man in Babylon or Rich Dad Poor Dad. So these two good books, they're awesome books, they're quick books, they're easy reads. But shoot me a DM with your address. If you don't shoot me a DM, well, don't hit me up 3 months later. Hey, I never got my book. It's like, you mean the free book that you never sent me a DM about?
Not that that's ever happened before.
Not that it's ever happened. I'm not bitter. But anyway, so yeah, that's what we got. This is what we're doing here. What else are we going to try to do here in season 2 of Grant Teach Something?
So season 2 is going to be a lot more. Again, it's going to be a lot more structured. We're gonna have many multi-part series, Series I,
Siri.
and Siri, and Siri. I get it. I see what you did there. So part of that is, hey, I think everybody understands I'm a huge fan of owner financing. That's my favorite method. That said, I do fix and flips, I do rentals, I do wholesaling. There's all these different methods you should know how to do. So we're going to address some of those things, but I really, really want feedback from you guys. I've gotten excellent feedback from so many of you out there, and I really, 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 really appreciate every time I have somebody come up to me at an event and be like, dude, I'm really enjoying watching this stuff. That's why I'm doing it. I mean, it's just awesome. I love seeing that you guys are able to become successful off of what we're doing here.
I love that you brought that up, because one of the things I love the most about our little community at our events or even on these live streams is I have no clue who's an actual Propelio subscriber or just in our little community. And frankly, it doesn't even matter. Like, I would love for every single person watching our videos, every single person that comes to our events, every single person that goes to our academy to be a subscriber of Propelio.com. That being said, I also don't care. I just love the fact that you're tuning in, hanging out with us, and being a part of our community. So if this is the first time you've watched us, welcome. Stick around. We'll be here all the time. We'll be here till at least every Wednesday, 11 a.m. Central Standard Time.
So next week we'll be doing more foundational, like actual, hey, these are more meaty terms of what's going on. And that's going to really set up, because if anybody's watched Grant Teach Me Something, I hope that you understand that we're about that real knowledge. We're about that meat. We want to give you the actual, this is not a fluffy, like, make you feel good about what you're doing. This is an education, right?
And on top of that, it's not about, look at me, look at all the stuff I'm doing. Because, I mean, if you've watched these videos enough, you know that there's times that I'm like, yeah, I don't know how to do that. And there's like, and then you watch Daniel. Yeah, I know how to do it, but I've never done that. And there's times even on the Grant teaches something that I say something, and Grant's like, no, that's not right. But it's real. It's real people, and that's what we try to be.
Yeah.
So stick around. That's all we got. Congratulations, everyone. If you want to win more stuff, my bad. I'm trying to be better about that. Come back later.
Awesome.
I don't know if I've got a show planned for tomorrow yet. The beauties of trying to plan stuff. But we will be live at 11 a.m. on Friday with Quest IRA.
Awesome.
So with their SDRIA Insider.
Ooh.
I wanted to call it the Quest Life.
So
That would have been a lot easier to roll off the tongue. Anyway, next week, 11 a.m., Grant Teach Something, Season 2, Episode 2. We'll see you later, guys. Bye.
Bye.